And it's 1:05, so we'll get started. Welcome to all of you, students who made the track post class, parents who tracked a little bit further to make it here. The dedication is incredible, seeing that this is going to be recorded and posted. You made it in person anyway, but I think this will probably give you an opportunity to ask some questions that you might have that you wouldn't be able to just watching a recording, right? This is Navigating Summer Opportunities, and I am honored to both be guided by, mentored by, work under, and work with the what I call the czar of summer programs. I think many people look at him that way, Mr. Jim Patterson. We're going to cover a few generic, basic things about summer. I know you all have a ton of questions, but before we begin, I've given you a few glowing accolades. You want a little intro?
Sure. My name's Jim Patterson. I work right on the second floor here at Kutler Center. My role here at Harvard-Westlake is I'm the Director of the Kutler Center and summer programs. And in both roles, I help students think about summer opportunities. In the one role, Director of Summer Programs, I oversee our entire summer operation here at Harvard-Westlake. And so if you've been in our summer program, or if you've had your kids in our summer program, that's a program that I lead here at Harvard-Westlake. Also in my role, I help quasi and get a chance to think about the summer opportunities that are outside of Harvard-Westlake as well. And, I have a large network of folks that predominantly run summer programs within independent schools across the country. But along with that, I developed a nice network of people who run just general summer programs all over the country and all over the world. And a couple of things that, a couple of things just about me. This is my current role at Harvard-Westlake. This is my 31st year at Harvard-Westlake. When I started in the fall of 1994, I taught in the math department, the science department, and then between 1994 and now, I spent some time in the upper school dean's office. We had a different dean structure here for a while, and I spent some time as a grade level dean. And then, after my time in the upper school dean's office, which of course means I've done college counseling as well, I moved upstairs to the Kutler Center and summer program role that I currently have. So it's been a nice trek all around the school here over the last 31 years. So that's me.
We're lucky to have you. And that actually kind of sort of segues perfect into our first question. And trust me, we're going to leave you all plenty of time for your own questions and answers. But we wanted to get some of the, maybe some general guiding things out of the way that'll maybe help you beforehand. So not only have you been a teacher, you've been a college counselor, you're kind of sort of, like I say, the czar of college summer programming now, and you're also a parent, right? What generally, and I know every family is different, every student is different, what are some general things that people should look for when it comes to summer programming?
Yeah, I think that's an important question to consider. Sort of what guiding principles should you use when you're researching a lot of different programs that are out there. I'm including the one that's at Harvard-Westlake. I mean, I'm pretty proud of what we have here and happy to sell that to you and talk to you about it. But if, even our program might not be right for a kid at a particular time for that particular summer. And I think it kind of changes over time. And so as I think about, and I know for the students here, I'm going to sort of back up a little bit further, but I'm going to go back to, thinking about the first time when, as parents, we start thinking about summer, and that's usually sometime in early elementary school. And, typically at that point in time, you're looking at a summer camp, whether it's a sleepaway camp, a day camp, you're looking for those sorts of camp activities. And then sometime in middle school, suddenly the reality that, college is looming, the time to be at a sleepaway camp or the time to be at a day camp is coming to an end. What do we do at this point, and what should we be doing at this point to help utilize the summer in the best possible way in the development of our kids? And I think number one, I think it's a good question to ask. I also think that sometimes we put a little too much emphasis on worrying about that particular time frame, because I think the reality is that there's not one particular program that is the key to any kid's future. I think there are a lot of really good programs out in the world. There are a lot of really good programs that are summer pre-college college opportunities on virtually every college campus in the country. There are a lot of student travel providers some of whom run better programs than others that are out there. But I think there's not really one exact program that is the key to every student's success. So starting there, then how do you sort of look at all these different opportunities and try to think about what's the best opportunity for my kid at this time? And I think that for that, it's really important to look at what interests a student at that time. And a summer opportunity might be something that helps that interest forward. It might be the opportunity that makes that student realize that this thing isn't what I thought it was, and I'm no longer interested in pursuing whatever it happens to be. Now, you can imagine a student who goes to Idlewild Arts, which is a big program here in Idlewild for visual and performing arts, very, very highly regarded, along with some other similar programs like Interlochen around the country. You could go to a program there and study with some really great people and come back and be like, oh my God, I didn't realize that that's what it meant to be a visual artist or to be a musician. I don't know that that's really the path that I want to pursue. And I think for parents, and I think luckily I've been here for a while, so I had the benefit of some colleagues' experience here to sort of lessen my anxiety. But I think for parents, sometimes if that's the outcome of a summer program, it feels like, oh my God, this is a disaster. What's my kid going to do now? But I think in the long run, that really is a good outcome. Then that allows you to understand, okay, there's maybe something else I should be focusing on. Maybe there's something else that I can, that I'm really much more interested in. It doesn't even have to be a passion. And I'll try not to use that word. I'm trying to use the word interest, because I think it's that interest that's really important to drive the decision of whatever program it happens to be, whether it's a pre-college program, one of these tour providers, or anything like that. I guess too, I think, I don't know if I'm going to jump ahead to a question. I'm going to say something that just popped in my head as well as I think about it. I think sometimes too, we put a little too much emphasis on the location of a pre-college program rather than the content in the pre-college program. And I do understand that if a student has a particular interest in a particular college and there's a pre-college program at that campus, you have the benefit of seeing what it's like to be on that campus, seeing what it might be like to live there, at least in the summer, and experience that campus for 4 years. And so there is some interest in maybe pursuing that. But also I think there a lot of parents feel like, well, if my kid wants to go to insert whatever college here, they have a summer pre-college program, maybe they should do that pre-college program because it will be important for their application or important for down the line. And the reality is it's just not. I think the where it can be important is that if a student's on that campus and they can articulate after being there why they feel like it's a good fit, and that makes the application stronger, then yes, being on that campus can be beneficial. But there's nobody in the admissions office who's asking who came to our pre-college program, because that's the person we're going to flag for admission. That just doesn't happen. Same thing here. I'll just tell you, there are a lot of families. Some of you guys, some of the parents here, and some of the kids here may have been to our grade 5, 6, and 7 program here in the summer called North Faring Exploration that's run each summer. It's been running for the last 10 years. It's a very popular program. The admissions office does not ask me for any feedback generally from students to say who came to this program so it can help our admissions decisions. It's still, I think, helpful for families to have their kids on our campus to make sure that the campus is comfortable for their kids. I think there are lots of reasons why it can be helpful as you're considering a school or as you're considering a college, just like I think it's helpful for families who are considering Harvard-Westlake when they send their 5th and 6th graders here. But there's not really that link between an actual admissions decision down the line and participating in generally participating in a summer in one of these summer pre-college programs. So I sort of went off right there. So I don't know. I have this habit of sort of going off in lots of different directions based on a simple question.
That's why everybody's here to get that kind of insight. And we're actually going to truncate our program because I know people have questions, which again is why you're here. So I'm going to combine like kind of sort of two of the questions we're going to go to. What are some of the trends that you're seeing in summer programming right now, and how is it affecting your job as the director of basically summer programming at Harvard-Westlake and our program generally? I guess this is an opportunity to kind of sort of sell our program as well.
Well, I think I'll talk about the trends generally. I mean, I think what you often see in the summer that's different from the academic year, which actually makes the summer kind of an exciting place to work, whether it's at an independent school like Harvard-Westlake or on a college campus or whatever. Oftentimes what you see in the summer is it's a laboratory for people who are thinking about programming for younger kids, middle school kids, high school kids to try things out. So you'll often find whatever the big trends are in education that are emerging today, you'll often find classes offered to students in the summer at different levels in those particular areas. And so, for example, right now, a lot of my colleagues at independent schools, and I've seen these at some of the pre-college programs now, are starting to offer programs related to artificial intelligence and AI. Artificial intelligence and AI is a big thing. And so, in the summer, you're able to offer classes in those particular areas. Leadership and entrepreneurship are big interests for a lot of students, and they're big interests, I think, for a lot of parents to have their students develop leadership and entrepreneurship skills. And so I do see a lot of programming, both on all levels of campuses, elementary, secondary schools, and post-secondary schools, pre-college offerings in like leadership and entrepreneurship training. So again, leadership has always been something that I think has been a big space in the summer. I think entrepreneurship has been very much an emerging way to focus on those types of leadership skills as well that I see in the summer. So we can talk about sort of lots of other programming as well. But I do see that oftentimes if there is something that's emerging in the market that could potentially be an interest down the line, that's going to be hard to put into the academic year because of all of our core courses that we have to have, you can often find a summer program or a summer offering in that particular area. And this goes back to my point as well before about how you can think about the summer opportunities that are all out there in the sense that, you might think, well, I want to be an entrepreneur. And so, maybe I want to go to this great business program where I can learn entrepreneurship. But how many people in high school really even know what an entrepreneur does outside of they're the people who bring these products and services into a market and then suddenly, make like $1 zillion because they designed Candy Crush or whatever it happened to be. Candy Crush is always the thing I hate on when I think about entrepreneurship, although I should probably think of something more contemporary. Candy Crush was a game that was very popular about 10 years ago. So again, I think some of those are some trends that I see. And I think I do think that we respond to those trends here too at Harvard-Westlake. I've developed some. I've partnered with an outside agency called Generation to provide a leadership development program for female identifying students. We started that about 3 years ago, and again, that was directly in response to some of the interests that I saw out in the marketplace in terms of what was trending. It's also a way for me to offer a program in leadership and entrepreneurship that would be more enticing to a wider range of kids, because it turns out the leadership skills and entrepreneurship skills as they're taught today are very similar. Yeah. So I think those are some of the trends that I see. Some of the trends that I don't see changing too much is that I find that as kids get closer to the end of one of the normal times in the traditional school progression from kindergarten to grade 12, they start to be less interested in being on their current campus and more interested in being on their next campus. So, the rising fifth and sixth graders that we offer here, that I see here in the summer, they feel like they're finished with their elementary school day camp or whatever. They're ready to be on a middle school campus. And so likewise, I see a lot of rising 11th and 12th graders who maybe they don't want to be here at Harvard-Westlake for a summer program. They're looking ahead and are more excited to be on at some of these pre-college campuses and things like that. And it makes a lot of sense in a lot of ways. And so a lot of our programming here for 11th and 12th graders is very specialized, particularly in the arts and such.
I'm seeing many people here that I meet with over the summer, whether it's in camps or even away abroad, not in HW. So is there any kind of sort of takeaway that you want to leave with us before we open it up to questions? Because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things about what's been great about having Kwasi France here for the last 3 years is that he's put together a lot of resources on the HW Works platform, a lot of resources on the HW Works website to help you all start to see what's out there and to see what possibilities exist. And so I would certainly encourage you all to look through those resources and see what's there. Both Kwasi and I are upstairs and are happy to talk with you about programs that are out there. If you're struggling to think about what types of things, I'm interested in this. Do you have some recommendations or things that you might want to think that we should look at? We're happy to help you think about those things and navigate some of those programs. I'll give a plug for one of my competitors out in Pasadena, Westridge School for Girls. They every year for the past several years, they have done a very large summer opportunities fair that is probably the largest fair for summer opportunities in the greater Los Angeles area. Because of the fires, they did not have the fair this year. But one of the things that they have on their website is they do put together a big catalog of a number of different programs that are out there. Now, it is a fair that draws parents who are looking for a day camp for their first grader, as well as something for their 16-year-old. And so understand that catalog is not going to be all directed to high school juniors and seniors or high school sophomores, juniors and seniors, but there are a lot of programs in there. They did put together a catalog again this year. And so along with the stuff that Kwasi puts together, I think they've done a really good job. And I don't know, some of you, has anybody ever been to the Westridge School Fair? Yeah. So hopefully you find hopefully you found it to be helpful as well when you went. There's some other fairs out there as well that I participate in. A lot of them are really focused more on younger kids. There's another fair that's run by another group that's run by a Harvard-Westlake parent called Tips for Trips. And they've done a fair around as well. And if you just Google Tips for Trips, it will pop up. Tips for Trips and the Westridge Fair have two different business models. Tips for Trips is more of a travel agent model. And so the groups that she works with, when they get a registration, they pay her a commission. And so just understand that limits the number of programs that she works with. That's not necessarily a good or a bad thing. It's just the business model that she works with. So just understand that does put some limitations on the programs that are there. The Westridge Fair, that's a fee to participate. And so all of us who participate in it, we pay a fee to be included in that thing. And so it's a little bit of a wider range of programs. But why am I forgetting Miss Levin's first name, who does Trips for Tips? But she's a former Harvard-Westlake parent and does a really terrific job working with families as well. So I'll do a plug for one of our parents of an alum here at Harvard-Westlake.
A ton of resources. You were promised and you did receive it. With that being said, it's 1:25, so students' class start in like 20 minutes, so you probably have 15 to get questions in. Parents have at it. If you're on Zoom, if you just type your question into the chat, that'll work. With that being said, who wants to start?
Happy to take questions. Yes.
I saw there was I couldn't even pronounce the name of it, but it was introduction to Japanese cultures.
Yeah.
And taking that class, is there going to be something in the fall that or bridges that, or is it just an introduction?
Yeah, so this is a class that's specifically related to our summer program here at Harvard-Westlake. We do offer a class in Introduction to Japanese here in the summer. It's in our 3-week cold water prep program. That's one of the elective courses in that program. And that actually just turns out to be an interest that a lot of kids have. And so we've been able to offer it in the summer for kids who want to do it. We do have a directed study in beginning Japanese this year. That course, unfortunately, is not being able to be offered next year because Miss Young, who teaches Chinese at the middle school, when the middle school schedule changes, she can no longer drive over here to offer the Intro to Japanese course. So we haven't been able to figure out if that's going to be something that we'll be able to offer again in the future. So the short answer to your question is no, that doesn't bridge to a course here next fall.
We have one via Zoom. Oh, they want the questions repeated.
Oh.
That's a good question. I will. They've asked about an Intro to Japanese class offered in the HW summer program.
Other questions about summer, thinking about summer in general, or specific questions or specific things? Yes.
On the works, the invite said that you also might talk about how to get funding for summer plans. How would you recommend going about trying to get the fellowship?
Sure. Yeah, so one of the opportunities that we have here at Harvard-Westlake is we have a sophomore summer fellowship program and a junior summer fellowship program. And these provide $4,000 grants for 1 sophomore and 7 juniors to pursue some type of summer opportunity in the summer after sophomore year or after junior year. The requirements for those different types of fellowships are slightly different. They're both intended to help students pursue some immersive project in the summer in some given area of interest. The junior proposals, we would like those to be a little bit more independent than the sophomore proposals. So the junior proposals, we're really looking for students who articulate some area of interest that they want to pursue in depth, and to be able to describe how they're going to pursue that in depth and what they're going to bring back to the community once they've done that. The sophomore project, we still want it to be an area that a student can pursue in depth, but we're much more flexible in terms of finding programs out there that allow students to understand and pursue that particular area of interest. And so the sophomore year in particular, I think almost all the proposals include some type of work with a summer program provider. I will say as well that a lot of the summer opportunities that are out there, particularly offered by external providers, they often have scholarship and funding opportunities available as well. And so if you find a program out there through one of the tour providers, where there be Dragons, Putney Student Travel, whatever it happens to be, and you're in need of some additional funding to help make that work, I would reach out directly to the program provider and just ask about what types of scholarship and funding opportunities they have, because a lot of these external providers really do have funding opportunities for students and families. Yeah, there's another question over here.
So I have a very poorly formed question, so I'm still trying to work this through.
Sure.
Things have changed since I was a kid. Like when I was a kid, when you applied for internships, you applied, they picked somebody and maybe swept the floor and washed bottles, but you had a chance to kind of be in the environment and to see maybe this is kind of your career area. I noticed a lot of the internships now these days, you apply and once you get accepted, there's this huge fee attached to it. Like a lot of these programs are somewhere between like two to like, upwards of like $8,000. And that starts little like this whole pay to play system, it starts feeling a little scammy. Like it's just people who are just predators, like on the fact that kids want to have opportunities, parents are worried for their kids to get these opportunities to get experiences or put them on college apps. And so how can you discriminate between ones that are like legit, like, oh, they're really gonna have a chance to really learn something versus this is just a company that's just trying to make money off of it.
Yeah, we were just having this conversation yesterday with the deans actually, and there are certainly programs out there that are tapping into the zeitgeist and see that that's a tremendous opportunity for them to create a business, to offer internships or offer something or offer some other types of leadership opportunities. I mean, in a lot of ways, the National Student Leadership Conference that I think probably everybody in this room has gotten an invitation to that program as well. In some ways, a lot of people view that program in the same way, that it's like, oh wow, this is this invite to this great program on Georgetown's campus. I have to go because it seems so prestigious, and yet if you got like a 1 on the PSAT, I think they got your name and sent you an invitation to it. So I think skepticism is appropriate in a lot of these ways. I think there are a couple of things. I think number one, I think Quasi can be a great resource in terms of like, we saw this program, we're unsure about it, and he can certainly give you some information about that as well. I think for some of them, if it seems like a reasonable price, again, I would try to take the prestige element out of the marketing and try to ask the question: is this something that my child's interested in? And if it is does it seem like this is a reasonable amount of money to pay for this? And then go off, because the reality is a lot of kids have done the National Student Leadership Conference programs and have benefited from, because they've realized that, wow, I've learned something about this. Internships, I think are tricky because the reality is, even with an internship, a lot of students can tap into their own networks right now and the Harvard-Westlake network and work with Quasi to get it to find some type of internship opportunity here in Los Angeles for free, and just sort of tapping into their network and doing that. It's likely to be here unless you happen to have family in Chicago and you want to do an internship in Chicago, because you have to think about where your 16-year-old's going to live, where your 17-year-old's going to live. But I think you still really can go out there and leverage the opportunities in your network and find those internship programs that are going to be just as meaningful for free. I will say too that I think the other thing that is important to think about, and I don't think a lot of these programs are complete and total scams. I don't think they're complete total money grabs. I think oftentimes they do offer programs that the kids do benefit from. But the reality is that college admissions officers also do understand that some of these programs, it's $10,000 to get an internship, and they know when they're looking at their pool of applicants, there's only a small fraction of applicants who even have access to that in terms of their own financial, the financial situation of their family. And so college admissions officers do often look with skepticism, just like families do, on these particular programs. And so again, I think it's important to ask yourself, this seems super expensive. I like the opportunity. Is there a way that I can have a similar opportunity without paying the $8,000 price? And if it really is an internship, I think the answer is typically yes. I'll give an example from my own academic background, which, like I said, I was teaching in math and science. And it is still possible, even today, if there's a student here who wants to work in a research lab, it's still possible to literally go to the UCLA website, the USC website, the Caltech website, the Cal State Northridge website, whatever college happens to be close to you. Look at what professors are doing in your area. Reach out to those professors and say, "Hey, I'm a Harvard-Westlake student. I just took honors chemistry. I'm really interested in chemistry and want to work in a lab this summer." And if you're persistent enough, you'll find a research opportunity here. And I think there's also other opportunities as well in other fields that you could do it. So I think the skepticism is correct. I think you do need to be skeptical about it, and we're happy to help kind of illuminate some of those programs as well.
I'll give other people a chance to ask more questions. Otherwise, I have follow-up questions.
Oh, sure. Other questions before the follow-up? I'll take the movement to indicate that the follow-up is reasonable. Yeah. This class does start in 10 minutes, so they got to go get ready.
Well, so to drill down more into that,
Yeah.
I think it always makes sense, right? Like to ask around your network.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, you have a kid and they're like, well, I'm not interested in whatever the family business is. I'm interested in the field. And you're like, yeah, go discover that, see if that is what you want to go do. So for example, in your example, knocking on doors, one of the things I noticed in this, as you mentioned, companies tapping into the zeitgeist, is that, everybody wants to jump onto the money train. So one of the things I've also noticed that local colleges have done the same thing. So, when my kid inquired at USC, they'd say, oh, well, now we have like the Shine program, like now it looks like a lot of the local colleges, instead of individual professors being like, oh yeah, you look like an upstanding young woman with enterprising, thanks for knocking on my door. Instead, they're all kind of referring you back to, well, now our university has a program and you can apply for that, and then we'll see if you can get in. And then it's really hard to tell how all that goes, because, before you just meet somebody and shake your hands and then you get figured out. And now it's, well, here's the application date, and then we'll, good luck, and maybe I'll see you again, maybe I won't. And then it's hard to know, what's valuable, what's not. We were told that UCLA has like a Cosmos program, USC has a Shine program. I'm just wondering, are there really doors that you can still knock on anymore?
So this is kind of sort of what I do every day, and I'm sure Jim over here is like, and I've been here for 3 years, and every year I've been here, there've been at least 2 students who went what I would call the phone book. Kids probably don't know what a phone book is. That route with professors in their field of interest, and they've been able to land something. Furthermore, and I think the students like it even more, it's pretty equal. So when I visited a bunch of colleges, and I asked these questions. When it comes to, in this case, research, I was at Brown. You guys have a great career center. What do you do for research? It's like we tell them to go to the website of the department, find the professor's email, and email them. It's ask them if they can do the research. So there is no magic carpet for that kind of thing. Those programs are good. Cosmos, Shine, it's great, but that does not stop me from having students still apply to UCLA professors. We actually are in the works with a UCLA professor. This is kind of sort of how my department works, of getting one of our students in econ internship. He's an econ professor at UCLA. He's an HW parent, right? So that's kind of sort of where we can add value using our network, using the school to facilitate, access to some of those opportunities that you're talking about.
Yeah, it is. I mean, Cosmos has been around for a while. Yeah. I think that is a highly regarded program, and I think that So I think too, it also depends on what the student really is really looking for, because those types of programs are going to be pretty general, and it's like taking another class in the summer and learning and really exploring it from that perspective, rather than really working with a professor on a specific project. They're kind of two different elements. The other tricky part about the internship piece too is that if you really want to go and I guess I shouldn't say, I won't use an example, but if you try to get an internship at a large company, typically, you have all sorts of HR policies and stuff that you can kind of stumble over. And so sometimes if it's a smaller company, or even like a very small company, like a mom and pop sole provider, they tend to be a little bit more flexible in terms of what they're able to offer and what they're able to do with a particular student. I think the larger companies, if anybody who owns their own business or works in a large company in HR, human resources, knows that in the last 20 years, California has really ramped up regulations for good reasons. A lot of people who were exploited in some ways by some of our previous rules and regulations. But what that means is kind of crowded out opportunities that people my age had when I was in high school, working for a large company, that current students don't have. And so oftentimes, if you're looking for an actual internship, I think the smaller companies, the small sole proprietorships or partnerships you're going to have more opportunities there. And honestly, in some ways, those are going to even be more interesting as well, because you'll get to see a lot more of an operation if it's a smaller operation rather than a large corporation. I think we're out of time. I think Mr. Klein is going to be in this class, or somebody else is going to be in this classroom teaching. Well, thank you for coming. I hope that was helpful.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Career fair next Thursday. That won't be on Zoom, so if you want access, you'll have to show up.